to Maxed Out Man, helping you become the man you were made to be.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Maxed Out Man podcast. This is episode 44, and I'm here with Peter Taunton, who, dude, this is so awesome, but let me read through some of the bio. Peter founded Lift Brands, which you may know as Snap Fitness, grew the company in more than 6,000 franchises worldwide, and in September of 2020, I guess he got bored and decided to start a whole new franchise, which is his fourth, which is Nautical Bowls. And I had to look this up because I always mispronounce it. Acai, right?
Acai.
Acai. My tongue doesn't always work that well. A new franchise concept, and it looks like it's just going absolutely awesome. Plus, little side note, he was a professional racquetball player for 12 years, which, I'm 50, about to be 51. So if you're younger than 30 and you don't know what racquetball is, it's way cooler and actual exercise, unlike pickleball is now, which pickleball is kind of the new racquetball. But right, dude, I'm so thankful that you took the opportunity to do this. I was telling my wife this morning, I'm like, I can't believe some of the people I get to talk to. Yeah. There's this premise of like surrounding yourself and engaging with people that are in the place that you love to be.
Yeah. And hey, Dan, thanks for your kind words, man. I appreciate it. And I love doing this thing. And as I said earlier, look, nothing's off the table. And my goal here is to really share some of my real life experiences. And, being an entrepreneur, I always say being an entrepreneur is easy, but being a successful entrepreneur takes work and a little bit of luck. And obviously, harder you work, the luckier you get. But if I can share some of the road rash that I've had along the way, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's definitely what they say. And I want to give, if you don't mind, I'll give a little bit of context. I think I joked with you. I said, thank you for coming to my coaching session while we record this, because I'm a small business guy. And what's funny is, I don't know, do you remember Q, the sports club back in the 90s?
It sounds familiar. I vaguely, it sounds familiar. Yes.
It's kind of a regional. Yeah. It was a regional thing. And I started with them as a personal trainer in Dallas. And then I got my first club. I ran the Scottsdale club and the Camelback club in Phoenix at like 24 years old, 23, 24 years old, which was crazy. So I kind of have this, and what was funny as I started looking at your journey and your story, I'm like, man, I took a different turn than I probably could have with all that. But, and now I have 4 different businesses across 9 different industries, kind of do all these different things. And so being able to talk to someone like you and say, hey, and then record it and show other people this journey that we all have. And, I was struck by something you said about, not being so hard on yourself. Like, I'm 50 years old. We did a pretty good amount of money last year. I have a $1 million goal for 2024. I'm hoping to hit that. I only hit about a quarter of that last year. But it's like, getting to when you're 50, you're like, man, shouldn't I be farther along by now? So.
Right on. I mean, hey, look, it happens. Well, first of all, $1 million, that's a lofty goal, and you hit 25% of your goal. The reality, which means you made 250 grand, that's still a great living. Okay. You're still living in the top 1 percentile of people that live in this country. So once again, to your earlier point, look, I say this all the time, don't be so hard on yourself. Making a lot of money is difficult to do. I think part of the discipline would be identifying how you made that 250 and almost trying to dissect it. So as you put together your strategy for 2024, I would look at how did you get to 250 in 2023, and what were some of the material movers that helped you get there. And if you can double down on some of those things, so really having the discipline to look at what exactly you did. You told me earlier, you've got 4 businesses across 9 industries. Look, you know what? You've got a lot of balls in the air. So sometimes, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You only get 24 in a day. You can't buy more and you don't get less. So It's going to get right down to your time, your personal time being your most valuable capital that you have, because that's what's going to limit where you spend it.
Yeah. And for me, it's so funny because like that has been a source of pride for a few years. And I'm realizing lately how stupid that is for that to be a source of pride to say, look. And so like over the last 6 months, I've been looking and saying, well, I can't be the everything guy. I actually just hired 3 new VAs and a video editor and some other people in my business, and trimming down and saying, okay, this brand's not performing. Let's just dump that brand. Yeah. This brand is performing as well as it can. Let's push towards this brand instead, and really double down and do those kind of things.
Here's a thought for you, Kevin. It's interesting you bring this up because I had this conversation with a gentleman about a month ago. Same thing, a lot like you, had a lot of balls in the air. And we started going through his businesses and finding out what's really yielding. Number one, and my measurement tool is how much money did you make and how much time did you have to give it? Okay. So that's the first starting point. And from there, we came up with a conclusion that, look, there's a handful of these businesses. He had, I believe, about 6 businesses, but 3 of them were probably not worthy of as much time as he was giving them. So rather than just washing them out and saying, look, we're going to shut these down, I said, look, let's not do that. Let's find a successor in these businesses, because you put some work into this. You've got something that has legs. It's just right now you're so involved with other things, you can only give it so much time. So you're drawing a conclusion that the business is probably not worth it. Where really you should be saying the business is not worth my time, but it's possibly worth my successor. So what we've done is we've gone out, we've looked at these businesses, we've recruited people that fit the profile of what we think it would take to drive that business, the human capital. And we tell them, hey, look, we're going to give you an opportunity here to step into a business and you can acquire equity in this business. And I don't tell them, hey, look, we're going to be 50-50 partners. You haven't shown me yet that you can do that. Because what I'm going to allow you to do is step into this business. Here's what the business can afford to pay you. Let's grow the business. And over time, I will allow you to buy me out at whatever the fair market valuation is. But tell you what, there's a lot of people out there that are working for the man who would love the opportunity to be their own boss. So we were successful in finding people to come into those businesses and or in the process. One of them, we found the person, but we're going to divide and conquer one at a time. We'll find successors, which is going to allow him, most importantly, to focus on these other 3 businesses, double down with his time, and hopefully double his income. That's the goal. Yeah. Ideally, I would like to be able to sit back with him a year from now. At the end of 2024, he still owns 6 businesses, but 3 of them he's not involved with. He's maybe giving them 1 hour a week of time where he sits down with the person that he's left in charge. There's been a smooth transition. The business is growing. It's up and to the right. So now he's got a business over there that's not taking a lot of his time, but it still looks good in his portfolio. Make sense?
Yeah, and I think that's basically the model you used to get your first club, right? If I understand that story correctly.
That was the opportunity they gave me. Now the mistake that they made is they said, "Look, Peter, I stepped into a business. This is, my God, I'm 61, so I was like 22 at the time." But they said, "Hey, Peter, the club was losing $200,000 a year, so they said, if you can turn this club around, we'll let you buy us out with the profits of the business." Their mistake was they never put a ceiling on how much I could acquire. They thought I had no chance, okay? There was 5 owners. They thought, this guy's got no chance. But the reality of it is that's all that I needed. I just needed my shot. And I worked for peanuts, $16,000 a year. And at that time, I was living at home. I couldn't afford anything else. I was living at home, 22 years old. That's kind of embarrassing in its own right today. But I did what I had to do, okay? And, it worked out. I was able to, over a period of time, I was able to acquire enough equity where I could go to a bank and refinance it. And that's when I really got legs. I went on at that time I did it for 20 years of my life. And I was able to take a club, turn it around, and then go on and build 7 more clubs, of which I sold, some 20 years later.
Wow. Yeah. And then obviously Snap Fitness and doing that model and processes. I love what you're talking about, the because I kind of went through this whole process in the last 3 months, just going through and saying, okay, this is how much income I got from this business. This is how many hours I spent on this. And then seeing like, okay, on this business, I make, $3,000 an hour. On this business, I make $48 an hour. So like that equation, and to, something that I heard you say before is this whole passion aspect of it, right? Like this Maxed Out Man project for me is something that is a passion of mine. And like, it's something I want to do from an altruistic standpoint.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a monetization aspect of it with supplements and coaching and courses and this podcast and all those things. But at the end of the day, it's like, this is something I really enjoy doing. Do I really want to go push? I've got a patented tool belt for a couple of industries. So do I want to spend the time pushing that brand, or do I want to do something I actually enjoy? Can someone else do that? Right.
And you know what? Here's something to think about. I own some companies today that are, ancillary or affiliate businesses, meaning I bought a company and I've been hiring a third party, another company to facilitate a certain service for the business of which is that I own. And I look at it and I say, look, I built this business of mine large enough to where I should own that division. Okay. Why am I farming this out? I can create a division that manages the service and support of all of the brands that I have out there, of which I can provide better service at a better price, and I can own it. So I've done that many times. One of the brands I own today, Fitness on Demand, I've got probably close to 3,000 locations of Fitness on Demand. That was birthed out of that mindset. So, the whole idea of virtual exercise inside a health club. And today what I did is I created that. And then I took it, I not only had it inside all of my brands, but when I create that entity, I also go into the open market. I have that I have it in Marriott hotels. I have it in military bases, college campuses. I have it in hundreds of municipalities and apartment buildings. So I created it for myself, but then I said, look, this thing has legs. I'm going to go ahead and create its own brand and sell it in the open market.
And what I want to know a bit more about that. So tell me what Fitness on Demand actually is.
Fitness on Demand, look, it was, we started it, we created it. And I tried to, the company that we were doing business with, as it was getting legs, meaning I was putting it into my Snap Fitness clubs, and it was getting, it had legs. The members were embracing it. It worked. And I said, well, I'm paying this company $200 a month for this application. I think I can replicate it. So what I did, I tried to buy that company. They were asking some outlandish number for it. So I went back to my technical team and said, look, what would it take for us to build this ourselves? And that's the path we went down. It took us about 1.5 years to build it, produce it, and have the hardware and everything. But then we rolled it out and we became a viable competitor against them, because immediately once we had our product, we inserted it in all of our clubs. So we started, at the time I probably had 1,000 locations, but when you can launch something and then put it into 1,000 locations, you've got immediate traction.
Yeah.
Right. You've got immediate cash flow. And keep in mind the administrative infrastructure. I had one, world headquarters, if you will. And in that office was the Fitness on Demand division. I had a Fitness on Demand division. I had an IT division. I had an accounting division, legal division. So when I would go out and acquire different brands, I would roll it right in and let my legal team and accounting team, I didn't have to replicate all this expensive admin human capital. And that's the beauty of creating an organization that's vertically integrated. And that's something that I try to specialize in.
And because then they, you basically have a team that can do all of those things, right? Like they, whether it's this brand or this brand or this brand, that team can interact with every brand. You don't have just all right, here's a bunch of fitness management people that work on this thing. Here's a bunch of franchise people,
No question, Kevin. And that's part of being successful, is hiring the right human capital, but then being able to, I look at myself as kind of a head coach. I got to make sure that everyone knows that they stay in their lane, They focus on their task. Okay. For me, I need to know everyone's position. Okay. If I'm the head coach of a football team, I need to know everyone's position, almost like a quarterback. A quarterback needs to know the positions of everyone on the offense. All right. I'm the same way. I need to know what are the responsibilities of everyone. If I'm with my programmers, I don't need to know how to sling code, but I need to know how to project manage. I need to know how to visualize what it is I'm trying to accomplish for the end user. So, and that's why for me, when it comes to software development, it's not the code that I'm worried about. It's the end product. It's the user interface. How intuitive is it? And if I can articulate a narrative that the developer can understand, that's what keeps these projects near the center line, and the end result looks so much better.
And what, I don't know if you manage your own LinkedIn. I'm assuming you do, but I was struck that I got on there and like, here's kind of this coupon-y post about your Nautical Bowls brand. And I'm like, That's pretty cool that the CEO of the company is, because you have some inspirational content and that kind of thing. But how do you decide, with limited time, just as a person, like you said, as a CEO, you seem to be, to me, so many large, successful CEOs and owners of companies are not as directly involved in kind of the nitty gritty day to day. And like you said, you're not doing code, but you're involved in that. How do you decide how to navigate that?
Well, it's having an understanding of what are the material movers. Now, today, when it comes to my social media, I have a couple of people that work for me. So here's what I approve. My routine is I approve the content. Okay. I approve the content that's on it. In most cases, sometimes if they've had something and they've ran it before, they ran it a while ago, but it was good content, it was a good soundbite, they can rerun those things without getting my approval again. Okay. But for the most part, the podcasts and things that I do, the sound bites that I pull, that I look at all of those things. The couponing things like you see with Nautical Bowls, that would just be my social media piece. You know what I mean? And sometimes I got to get on my social media team. I just had to do it here literally about a month ago because there was a comment that I made. It was talking about earnings, earnings of the performance of a store. Well, in franchising, you can't make these earnings claims, The statement was accurate at the time that I said it, which was 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. But you can't take that same soundbite and put it out there today because somebody's going to say, hey, wait a minute. He says that I can make 20% on my money. Hey, look, no, that's not the case. That was relevant. That was accurate at the time. But today, as you know, the business environment, it changes the dynamics. I mean, today we're dealing with a lot out there right now. Unbelievable inflation. Interest rates have quadrupled, have tripled in the last year. It's just a joke, right? It's an absolute joke. So it's a very difficult business climate that we're in right now today, but we've seen this before. I've been in business for 35 years. We'll get through it, but it's not fun. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's for those of you that are running small businesses and you're thinking about using social media managers and that kind of thing. One of the things I think is super important is to be involved in that because there's this voice, right? Like you have a particular quote unquote voice of your brand and voice because you are your own brand. And you can't just let someone just run with it. I actually got, I had the same conversation with my social media VA to say, look, you can't say a product that I invented 12 years ago is a new introduction into the market. Like that's, this product's already been on the market. We can't say that,
exactly. That's exactly right. And you know what? It's an honest mistake on their part. And actually, I didn't even know that it was posted. I don't look at like a lot of my social media. I look at Instagram and because Instagram flows into my Facebook. So if I look at Instagram, I got it. LinkedIn, I very seldom am looking at it because that gets to be too much for me.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to, so I look at Instagram, and I had one of my franchisees that said, hey, look, you're making the statement that people make 22%. And then I told her, hey, look, I didn't know that was there. I'll have it removed. I went back to my social media team. But then I also said, look, my Instagram is not there to sell franchises. That's not, that's not what I'm there for. That's Nautical Bowls. I'm simply an employee of Nautical Bowls. Yes, I'm one of the owners. I got equity for stepping in and running the company, but that, it's a very different dynamic. So, I immediately called my social media people. I said, look, anything that you have that that is making that statement, pull it down. I wasn't too hard on them. I said, look, you didn't know any better. It's okay. But
Yeah, because to them it becomes kind of like a marketing bullet point, but realizing that it's
yeah, and it was just the image was there, but it was written in the text underneath it. So you had to click on more to get the soundbite that I was against, and the soundbite that I was against was, once again, making an earnings claim that was relevant at the time that we made the statement. But as you know, in social media, people recycle social media, and it is what it is. I've with that said, I've never had anyone come and buy a franchise from me that said, yeah, I saw your post on social media. That's never happened.
Yeah. It's, they may be attracted to you as a person, as a brand, and as a coach, but not necessarily like, hey, I think I'm going to go invest, a few $100,000 based on this Instagram post, right?
Yeah. No, most of the people that follow me that are my franchisees do it after they become a franchisee. You know what I mean? Because maybe they hear something and they start to learn more about what I'm about. For me, I'm a fairly consistent opinion. I have my opinions, right? I have my opinions about, politics. I'm a bit of a patriot. I'm a bit of a cowboy. And, I love the fact that there's opportunity out here, but there's certain things that are going on in this country today that drive me crazy. This whole transgender bullshit drives me crazy. Hey, look, you wake up one morning and you want to identify as a woman, you knock yourself out. Hey, dude, be a woman, be whatever you want, but don't push your beliefs on me. Don't make me compromise how I'm rolling every day. I think you're born a man or a woman. Look, you know what I mean? You're born with a penis, you're a dude. Sorry. You're born with a vagina, you're a woman. Sorry. You can behave like one or the other, but just don't push that on me. And for God's sake, don't push it on my children. I mean, some of the nonsense that's going on in some of the school systems around the country, I just got to roll my eyes and say, what has happened? What has happened to this country in the last 2.5, 3 years? What went on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we completely lost all critical thinking skills or common sense. Trying to rewrite history. Hey, look, we can all agree that some of the things that happened in this country's history, slavery and, so many different things, not things to be proud of, but like everything, like life, you got to own it. You got to own your shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, we're not proud of it. We're not going to rewrite it. We're not going to put some special narrative around it. We owned it. That was wrong behavior. How it felt right at the time, we can't fathom that because we weren't there at that time. But this whole idea of rewriting, or this whole idea of trying to rewrite history, burn books, change people's belief, go down this other rabbit hole that doesn't make any sense. I don't get it personally.
Yeah, it's like we said before, I think I did the intro. It's like we're living in a South Park or Family Guy or SNL skit kind of thing.
I keep waiting and I'm hoping it's in the next election. I'm hoping we can get Crazy Joe out of there and all of his cronies and literally just try to claw our way back to some place of normalcy, some place of balance where we can put people back to work, where we can push interest rates down and this inflation down. I mean, it's absolutely crippling this country. How about border controls? You know what I mean? And I'm glad that the liberals are getting, some of the liberal states out there are getting a double dose of what no border control actually means. Here's it was great when it was only Texas and some other border states that were having to deal with the wrath of that. But look, you got to have it. And I don't think there's any person in this country that is against people migrating into the United States, but follow the process. Okay. What I mean, you shouldn't be able to live in Europe, fly to Mexico, and then cross the border and you're immediately a U.S. citizen. To me, that just is wrong on so many different levels. I don't get it. I honestly, I don't get it. I don't get the logic behind it. And some of these people that think everybody who walks into this country deserves health care, a home, and, a check every week. Look at what it's doing. You're seeing some of these states out there that are the people, the citizens of the communities are saying, look, enough. We got to take care of our own. We are living in poverty. You are taking away our parks and you're making them temporary housing for these immigrants that are coming in. Look, this is not sustainable. We got to do something.
Yeah.
And, fortunately it's hopefully getting to a place, but it's too bad that it had to get to this place before people are starting to get some action. And the only reason it's getting movement is because the liberals are getting 2 scoops of their nonsense and it's come home to roost on their doorstep. And now they're thinking, hey, wait a minute, we got to do something.
Yeah, I saw a thing with, I don't know if you saw the deal where AOC is trying to, which I mean, I can't believe that, and I don't want to, this isn't a political podcast, but I love these kind of discussions, but
I mean, they're real.
Yeah, they're real. I mean, she was trying to do this speech in New York City and just absolutely got blasted by a crowd of people, basically saying, and she's pretending like it's no big deal and the sanctuary city idea is fine. And
right. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. You can't make any sense of it. And, that's about as crazy as Biden saying that our country is better today than it was in the Trump era. Hey, look. Trump, he had his own issues. Okay. He was hard to be around. He was cantankerous. It was his way or no way. He was a little bit immature as a political candidate, president. But he said, hey, look, I'm not a politician. So we kind of knew what we were getting. And thank God we got him because he righted the ship in so many different ways. And you can see just how quickly you can fall if you get somebody that's extreme on the other side. And when Biden stands up to today and says that the country is better today than it was in the Trump era, I literally have to question his just common sense. And, he's just not coherent. He's not aware of what's going on in this country today. He doesn't get it. He doesn't have his hand on the pulse of the people. And it's unfortunate. The people that have grown accustomed to getting handouts, lack ambition. Those people, they love the Biden era. They love all that and all the nonsense that goes with it. But every hardworking American who gets up every day and scraps for a living and provides and helps and provides lifestyles for all the employees, hey, those people, they deserve an applause. And look, capitalism works. No, there's no question about it. Capitalism works, but you can't cripple it by high interest rates and, handcuffing them every time you turn around. Just doesn't work.
Where do you think that comes from in terms of like that? Because, I mean, you obviously run in circles, very high level circles of people that probably, of all different levels, obviously, but you have more access to people that, have levels of wealth and influence and power. And where do you think, is this like just a fuel delusion on the part of these people, or you think they're just reading from a script because they believe that they should say these things out loud?
This is, it's a great question, Kevin. And one of the things I wish that they would invoke is term limits. If you put term limits in for every freaking politician out there, you would get away from these lifetime politicians. Okay. Tell you what, good luck getting term limits put in.
Yeah.
Because you got the fox watching the hen house. Why would they ever vote themselves out of a job where they have the ability to go in, sit down every 2 to 4 years, get reelected, get pensions and all kinds of benefits that come with it? It just doesn't, it doesn't
plus
make
stock,
any sense.
Plus good stock tips.
No, yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, so I don't know the short answer to it. I think people that are out there just working, here's the problem. I think a lot of self-made people, a lot of, they tend to be conservative. Most of us don't get bogged down in the minutia, the nonsense, the political agendas that are out there. It's very difficult to do because we just get up every day and focus on grinding our business. If we try to get politically involved, and it's probably the right thing to do because that's truly the epitome of serving your country. Going in, that's why I think term limits, I'm going to serve my country. I'm going to go in politically for 4 years and I'm going to, apply myself into what I've learned through my 30, 40, 50 years of business to run this country like a business. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to take care of the weak, the homeless, the poor. That's not what it's about. Nobody's against that. But what we're against is
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about our upcoming workshop, which is going to be on January 11th. We are doing a maxed out marriage mastery workshop, which basically is an introduction to some of the stuff that we do both in marriage with man issues, masculinity issues, health, fitness, and mission, community service, how to be a servant leader. A lot of those different topics we'll be offering. We're going to do a 4-hour workshop, and it's free this time. So feel free to go and sign up at maxedoutmarriage.com/workshop. Hope you'll join us and check it out.
Doing it without having some sort of an exit plan for these people. Otherwise, you're just enabling them. All right. You're giving them free cash, free food, free everything. They're not motivated. That doesn't work on any level. So finding places where you can take care of them, give them a leg up, straighten, clean them up, square their shoulders off to the target and say, look, here's what we're going to do. This is what you told me your interests are. Let's try to find you a job within these areas. You are going to have to go to work. Okay. Being homeless or just sitting on the sidelines with your hand out, that's not going to work long term. Now, many of these people have got mental illness, which is a whole other thing that we need to deal with. Okay. Yeah. But we got to get away from the idea of we need more money so we can give more of it away for these people. We're just disincentivizing them. We're not motivating them to make a difference in their life or to break the chain of the 3rd and 4th generation welfare family out there that is simply looking for, that's all they've ever known. Capitalism works, and there's nothing more rewarding for somebody that gets up every day. They have a great job. They're providing for their families or for themselves. They've got great self-esteem. They're actually doing something. They're contributing. They're part of society. That's what I hope everyone has a chance to experience. Not everybody's got to be a multimillionaire. Just getting up and being in the game is a great accomplishment that we shouldn't take lightly.
Yeah, 100%. And what's ironic is that we are giving, as these, the illegal aliens or the migrants or whatever you want to call them, that, they love to call them refugees, which is a little bit of a stretch. But I would assume that most of those people are looking for a better life and wanting to work for it, right? Like but but there should be a path to do it. We're handing them iPhones and saying, here, you get this and here's your stipend. And, somebody showed this video of the facilities with Xboxes and all this kind of weird, crazy stuff. But I think in general that the people do want to, as a whole, most people want to work for what they have.
Can you imagine? I mean, I agree. There's no question about it. They're leaving their country for what they believe is a better life. That's what they're doing. Okay. So think about how bad we botched this. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people coming across the border since we just simply took the border down for all practical purposes. All right. To make matters worse, they get there. You give them a bottle of water, some food, and before long, you put them on a bus and you cart them up to New York or Illinois or Chicago. You're doing this and you drop them off. Let's reverse it. Think about if you and I, for some reason, decided we want to go we want to be a Mexican citizen, and we hopped on a bus and they drop us off in the heart of Mexico City. We don't speak the language, and here you go. And we're supposed to get in that, and we're supposed to immerse ourselves in society. We don't speak the language. How do you even go in and apply for a job? I mean, it's so freaking loose.
Yeah.
This whole process, and we sit around and we scratch our heads and look at each other and point fingers, try to blame one political party against another. Hey, look, it starts with border controls to begin with. So once you stop the hole in the boat, okay, if your boat is leaking, first thing you got to do, you got to plug the leak, okay? Mm-hmm. So plug the border. And while you're doing that, think about, okay, we've stopped the leak in the boat. Now, where's land? How do we get ourselves to land? How do we fix the problem? So in our case, plug the border, and then simultaneously be thinking on the back end, all right, what are we going to do with all these people who clearly want to be citizens of the United States? What's our process going to look like? And you can't just bring them in and drop them. You better have a plan to get them gainfully employed. What does that look like? You better have some sort of an interview process to the person over in Mexico saying, look, what does your dream job look like? If you want to be an accountant or a field worker or a sous chef or a dishwasher, hey, look, I don't care what it is you want to be, but you got to want to be something. And then let's try to channel those people into areas where there may be some opportunities. It's simple as that. Hey, look, we can't begin to resolve the answers or find the answers in this podcast, but the bottom line is what we're currently doing is not working. And I'm actually shocked. I'm astonished that with all the smart people we have in our political offices, that so many of them walk around with a freaking blindfold on to this complete absolute shit show that's going on across this country, and trying to put some spin on it like this is a border control issue that was created by Trump, which is absolute nonsense. And the people of the country, I think, are starting to get it. I hope so. I mean, I've got some friends who are stark liberals, and when we're sitting around having a couple of beers, I say, hey, how'd that work out for you? They're flat out embarrassed about it. They're straight up embarrassed about it because nobody knew it was going to be this bad, right? But I hope in the next election, everybody gets out and votes, and I hope they vote conservative. I say that all the time. Capitalism works. Programs work. I'd like to see the Republicans win, and I'd love to see term limits, personally.
Yeah, because there is no other job in which you could say, how long have you been at this job? Oh, 45 years. And you're going to say to yourself, I bet you're really good at this job today. And you're just as pertinent, or you're just as relevant as you were 40 years ago. Like, Congress is the only place that we get that. Like, you would never do that in normal business.
Think about this too. Some are political office. You win a 4-year term, you're entitled to a pension. I mean, are you serious?
Yeah.
You get a freaking pension after 4 years, serving 4 years in political office. If you work 4 years is a blink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You work any other job in the United States for 4 years, 10 years. In most cases, even if you give them 10 years, you don't have a pension. And don't confuse pension with the 401k of which you're funding yourself. Okay,
right.
That's not pension. Now, if your employer matches something, great. Okay, but let's not be confused here. These guys are not talking about a 401k. They're talking about a government handout that they can do a 4-year term and get it for the rest of their life. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice to have that option with other jobs, wouldn't it? Where you kind of put 2 to 4 years in and you're ready to go. But so in your circle, because I don't hang out with the same level of people probably that you do in general. I mean, I have friends of all different levels, but I've told my wife, I'm like, I don't think I've actually ever met someone that has a very high level of success that would turn back and say, they're almost always conservatives.
Yeah.
Just because it seems like that the conservative side of things, and that's like, take the social issues out of it. It's just like, I'm fiscally conservative.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. Most of the people, the precursor to that is, are you self-made successful? Okay, if you're a second, third generation high net worth family that grandpa started this company and you're living off a trust, many of those people can be liberal. Okay, many of them can be, because they've never had to fully get out there and experience the grind, the grit it takes to grow a business, and the strategic, the vision, all those things that come with success. Not all of them, but many of the ones that I know who are liberal, that's where they came from. Most of my friends are conservative. Okay. And even those friends of mine who are trust fund babies, they are conservative today because they realize that it was capitalism at its finest that gave them the platform, or their grandfather's platform, to do the amazing things that they did. And they understand that. And here's a bad rap that many people get. People that are very wealthy and that are conservative, they're also very generous. Okay. People think, oh, they don't like these social programs. Nonsense. Every single person I know that is highly successful and a conservative They're all about giving back and giving people a leg up. What they're against is people that have no sense of ambition. In other words, they have no intent of getting out of where they are. Okay. So let's just quit trying to put a fancy wrapper on it. What they like is a handout. And once they're done, once they've spent your handout, they're back with their handout again. Okay. That's not what this country is built on. Why should the people, the working class, have to carry the load for these people that love the idea of just getting handouts? It's just fundamentally not right. So when you start spinning it like that, you get some liberals who say, oh, Peter, you're insensitive. Bullshit. I'm all about helping that. Don't talk to me about the mom who's been abandoned by her deadbeat husband and she's saddled with 3 kids and she's trying to make ends meet. Hey, look, I want to help her all day long, and as do most people, okay? But what I'm against is that woman who's sitting at home there who's getting knocked up every year and a half because she's not on birth control. She's got 6 kids. And look, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better plan for her.
Yeah, because it seems like to me, and it's interesting. I follow, obviously we've got Black Lives Matter and all this different stuff, but I follow a lot of conservative Black influencers who are very adamant about speaking out against their own community. And this isn't a race issue, but it's there's an entitlement thing that I think that we have in the country that is really. Yeah. I hate entitlement. I'm just not like, like you work your ass off, build what you have, take the failures as they come, but continue to do it. And I think it's a God-given desire to be productive.
Yeah, and don't you love it? Don't you love it, Kevin, when you see someone like Candace Owens as an example?
Yeah.
Okay, this Black woman, outspoken, conservative, right? Hardworking, and she's like headed. She's headed with this victim mentality that so many people put, not just blacks, whites, blacks, Hispanic, who cares what color you are, what race you are, but she's completely over this victim mindset. And she's saying, look, you have the same opportunity as I had. And it's what you chose to do with that opportunity. So quit trying to blame everyone. I always say, hey, I'm sorry your mother burnt your birthday cake. Get over it and get in the game. Right?
Yeah, my kids, I think, are about the same age as yours, a little bit younger, 26 or 25 and just turned 20, or 26 and 25, 24. I can't remember. I'm going to get in trouble for this podcast, but both of them are very, very hard workers. And have always really pushed to make that. And people will say, well, yeah, but they grew up in upper middle class, white America. And so they had way more opportunities, which may be true. Maybe, me being self-employed, and an entrepreneur and showing them what that path can look like. What's ironic is that one of them actually is a homemaker, which is fine. And then I have another one. My youngest is a paramedic in Atlanta. So they both took completely different paths than I did, but they've always had that work ethic, right? Like my kids, the oldest one especially, she would live in her car, and actually I think she did for a couple of weeks before she would ask me for money.
Yeah. Hey, look, you know what?
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about our upcoming workshop, which is going to be on January 11th. We are doing a maxed out marriage mastery workshop, which basically is an introduction to some of the stuff that we do, both in marriage with man issues, masculinity issues, health, fitness, and mission, community service, how to be a servant leader. A lot of those different topics we'll be offering. We're going to do a 4-hour workshop, and it's free this time. So feel free to go and sign up at maxedoutmarriage.com/workshop. Hope you'll join us and check it out.
I mean, it's great. Here's what our kids had. Our kids had a front row seat to seeing what ambition and what the American dream can look and feel like. All right. I mean, for me, I saw that every day of my dad. My dad got up when it was dark, and he came home when it was dark. And he worked at his small grocery store in that little rural community that I grew up in. So I saw, and when I was at work, when I went, I was able to sell popcorn in front of his grocery store when I was about 8 years old. And I witnessed my dad putting himself above nothing. I mean, sometimes you'd see him at the checkout stand working the register. Sometimes he'd be bagging groceries, carrying out groceries, shoveling the sidewalk, doing the scheduling, time cards, doing payroll. Hey, look, he did everything he needed to do. It was his business. and he put himself above nothing. And when you do that, generally speaking, your employees, they appreciate you. And when they know that you will walk on fire for them, you get a sense of loyalty, and you get a higher commitment from your employees because they know that you're all in this together. And that mentality, that mindset rears its head across many companies and many success stories across this country.
Yeah, I always have to laugh because when I was running the health club, it was about 48,000 square feet. I was at the Scottsdale Club, which we did about 5,000 workouts a day.
Busy club
in Scottsdale, but about 40% of my salary was how clean the club was. Like, we would open treadmills and pull weights off and, out of the selectorized machines and all that. But like, I spent probably 25 to 40% of my time with a freaking backpack vacuum cleaner or the floor buffer for the terrazzo we had in the lobby or whatever. Yep. And so I knew how to do all that. And I showed my employees how to do that and showing them that, look, I'm the boss, but I'm your coworker here. Right.
Yeah. It's and instilling the importance of the guest experience. It's true in everything. You sold them a membership. As you know, in health club business, you got to find them, you got to sell them, and you got to keep them. Okay. And, those are the three things you got to be thinking about. And if your club becomes dirty or run down, the equipment's not working, people have no reason to stay anymore. And especially when you're in such a competitive market, the bar is raised very high. If you're going to play at a high level, you got to do high level things, which means you're paying attention to the details.
Yeah, it drives me crazy when I go into health clubs. Like, one of the big things for us is, if a bench or something started to wear on the vinyl, that thing was pulled out. While it usually only took a couple of days to fix, but we're not leaving it on the floor while it's being fixed, and it drives me crazy. You lay on a bench and that it's got that crack down the middle of it, and that's like a $30 fix. It's not even that expensive to fix that.
We did the same thing. That we just, it was just for my own, and maybe it was my OCD, but my clubs were always tight. We were always painting, we were always reupholstering, we were always laying carpet. We were doing everything we needed to do to give that club a new, fresh feel. That was absolutely key for us.
Yeah. And did you develop SOPs and processes and all that stuff that then you use for your franchise model? Because that's kind of the franchise thing, right? Like, here, let me hand you this process.
Yeah, I mean, we did, and every single department within our company had those standard operating procedures, and they would be a live, living document. We're changing them accordingly as the industry would evolve and pivot, and expectations would arise, whatever we had to do. But no question, and keep in mind, back in those days, it was all done on spreadsheets and punch lists. You didn't have all this electronic, digital information that you could access, which is just fine. Look, Excel spreadsheets and punch lists and things, like, it works. The bottom line, you're either paying attention to what's going on. And for me, even in my facilities, I would walk my facility from corner to corner multiple times a day, just to make sure, that there was not cups and towels and Kleenexes on the floor, because members tend to not pick it up. They'll walk right by it. Right. Yep. So it's just that level of detail that you have to pay attention to.
We used to do that in the parking lot. Like, I would get dinged on my regional walkthrough if there was a piece of trash in the parking lot. I'm like, well, damn it, I just went out there and picked that up, and it blew in while you were parking or whatever. But yeah.
No. Yeah. And you know what? Even today, so I'm Brian McCarty, a good friend of mine, from the founder of Lifetime Fitness. And even when I'm walking into one of his gyms, if I see a can in the parking lot, like just kind of like blowing across the parking lot, like a tumbleweed, and it's in my walking path, I'll pick it up and I'll throw it in the dump. I'll throw it in the trash can as I walk into the store. I'll do that. It's just my behavior, because I understand the importance of those things. He's a friend of mine. I'll do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not running around the parking lot with a trash bag, but if it's in my walking path, I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up and I'll toss it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, you understand that user experience, and honestly, that's just kind of being a good human, right? Like picking up stuff off the ground, putting grocery carts away, which people is like, I saw this meme the other day. It's like, this is the quintessential test of if whether or not you're a piece of crap. If you leave your grocery cart in the middle of a parking lot, there's something seriously wrong with your integrity. So you should go put it away. But
no question.
Yeah, for sure. So can you, I'm interested about, so one of the things I wanted to ask you about is you've got this great education from your dad, started early with work ethic and all that. What did you do as a father to kind of keep that legacy of work ethic, integrity, entrepreneurship going as you have older kids? Are they boy, girl, two boys, or
boy, girl, boy?
Okay. So you've got the 3 kids. So how did you do that as a dad? Because a lot of things we talk about on Maxed Out Man is fatherhood and husbandhood and those kind of things.
Well, look, I talk about my father. I talk about my lifestyle growing up. I mean, we didn't grow up with a lot, and what I did grow up with was opportunity. So with my kids, and they witnessed it firsthand in a different context. They saw me get up and work every day. Okay. And they knew that. And I would share with them what type of things I was working on, what issues I might be having at hand, and I put it in a context where they can grasp it even at a young age. When they turn 15, I put them to work. They had to go get a job. Okay. I mean, but like my oldest, he got a job at a grocery store as a bag boy. Okay. Why was that important? Because he had to show up on time, well-groomed, with his bow tie on, and to bag groceries. There was nothing glamorous about it, but he had to show up, and he had to be accountable to someone other than me. So I did that for all of my kids. And look, that's kind of lesson 101 of just getting ready, preparing yourself for life, because through life, you're going to work. Okay. You're going to work. So you're not going to be some little trust fund baby. Even today, my kids, they work, they have jobs, they show up every day. They're not living off some trust. They eat what they kill. So they aspire to have a great living for themselves. And to me, I think regardless of how much wealth you have, if you give kids their trust money too early and you completely disincentivize them to show up and actually contribute to society, I think what you create is deadbeats. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, there's going to come a time where I will take some of the pressure off life for my kids. Okay. And I help them with things here and there right now. All right. And I only do that because I know that number one, they appreciate, but number two, I know that they don't lack ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a good table stakes to understand where I come from. But I think also they understand the importance of helping those in need. And that's something we talk about often. They see me do it often. My philanthropy, I'm very outspoken about it, and I'm very active with it. They see me even from the little things. Even if I'm walking down the sidewalk and someone is in need, helping them out a little bit, giving them a little money or giving them food. I do that multiple times a week. I've always done it. My kids have always seen me do it. I think it's part of winning,
mm-hmm.
is giving back and giving people a leg up in society. Those in need, I think how we show up every day is important.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always said, and we've had times in our lives where we've had a ton of money. We've had times we've had no money, and they kind of, as an entrepreneur, those can go, that kind of fluctuates from year to year, quarter to quarter sometimes. And, but I always talk about the greatest thing about having money is the ability to give it away when people need it, right? Like that's one of it buys our own personal freedoms and our enjoyments and all of those things. But the ability to give it away is really,
and people don't understand it. For me, giving away financial gifts is so much more rewarding for me than it is for the person receiving it. I mean, yes, I know that you can do something for them that puts a smile on their face, or hopefully something that's life-changing for them. That's wonderful. But I tell you what, every time that I've been part of something where it's been philanthropic, it fills my heart. It fills my heart. It gives me gratitude. Such gratitude, number one, to God that He's provided me such a great life. He's blessed me in so many ways, and I'm hoping that the actions of how I roll every day, that when it is my time at the pearly gates, he's going to look at me and say, Peter, well done.
Yeah.
Right? Good
And faithful servant, right? Like that's,
you got it. That's what I'm hoping for.
It seems like to me that being a wealthy father comes with its own set of pressures to be able to teach your kids how not to be little assholes. Basically, it's like teaching them that.
And you know what? The part of that is, just how they show up, how you roll. Okay. Mm-hmm. Hey, look, there are some times when I've got to be tough. I'm not talking about my kids, but just tough on people. Mm-hmm. Okay. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. Okay. I've got an expectation of everyone around me of, how are they going to show up? Everyone has the ability to disappoint. I disappoint people all the time and vice versa. But look, I think for me, it's with my children, it's making sure that they understand that life, it's going to have twists and turns. It's unpredictable. Sometimes it's unfair. And every time that you have one of those moments where you feel like you're the victim, you can't let it completely, you feel like you're blindsided. You can't let it completely rock your world. You got to get up and say, look, you know what? My dad told me about, there would be moments like this. And I'm going to brush myself off, and I'm just going to persevere. I'm going to keep pressing forward. Now, if it's something that you did behaviorally that gave you that result, now you need to reflect. Okay, that didn't work out for me. Okay, I did this or I did that. I was being unfair. I was looking at it from the wrong perspective. That's part of growing up. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's why when I meet people that have been in business for a long time, there's a value on that perspective, that historical road rash that they've been through. And I really appreciate it when I can meet someone who's had they have a perspective, they've gone through the evolution of an industry, but most importantly, they've been able to evolve and pivot with the industry. Okay. They've allowed themselves in that pivot, in that evolution, to remain relevant. It's a mouthful there. Mm-hmm. And not everyone can do it well. Some people can't evolve. They become irrelevant. Their business starts spiraling, and they're looking for a way to pivot out of the business. And I deal with a lot of companies like that, helping them try to pivot out and become relevant again. In many cases, it's a very, very costly proposition.
And what does that process kind of look like? Is there just a mindset shift? Is it like being engaged in popular culture, staying engaged with your industry? Probably a little bit of everything.
You're exactly right, Kevin. It's a little everything. Okay. Evolving is being aware, and not aware. You got to be aware of what the consumer's expectations are. That's where it starts. If you're not relevant with what the consumer is expecting as a product or service, eventually they're going to leave you. Why are they leaving? Because other people within your space are providing a better product, better service, which equals better value. Okay. Now, when I look at companies and they've ignored that evolution process over a long period of time, I got to look at it. And in many cases, I have to tell them, look, if it were me, I would shut this business down, because the name of your company is not even acknowledgeable. You've positioned your brand in this area, and now you want to go back and re-educate your customer. If it were me, rather than spending all your cash on making that pivot and hoping that it works, you may want to just start up another entity that is going to be a complete paradigm shift from what you're doing. That's right, sir. You've let it go that long that it's going to feel like a paradigm shift. But I tell you what, it'll be less money than trying to re-educate your customer that you're something that you're now relevant when you weren't. Okay. So it's a slippery slope, but I've done it multiple times, and I've been successful at doing it. And once again, when you make those pivots or you launch a new brand, you got to make sure that you're on the front end of the products and services. So I look at it and I say, okay, what's currently being offered? What can we do to make this one level higher? What's the next step that we can do? So when we go to the market, we're not just another me too. Now we're a front runner. We're a leader in the space. Now we've set a new standard, and everyone who's in the space is going to have to evolve to our standard. Otherwise, they're going to be the one that's not evolving, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are there some things that you did with the new business, the nautical
bowl?
Nautical bowl? Are there things that you did to like, I just want to put it in and I want to be respectful of your time, but I want, in terms of the logistics.
I've got about 10 more minutes for
okay. You. So, to do in this new business, were the things where you said, hey, this is what the space looks like in this, health and wellness space, this drink space, this, those kind of
Here's
things.
What we're doing. I mean, right now, when I started Nautical Bowls, we said, look, we're just going to do acai bowls when everyone else out there in our space is trying to do sandwiches, smoothies, soup, salads, and acai bowls. We say, look, that adds a whole another level of tech. It makes it so much more technical.
Mm-hmm.
All we do is acai bowls, no exhaust hoods, no cooktops, in most cases, no grease traps. Very simple business. So that's what we went to market with. Now, today, we're looking at this and we're condensing our footprint size. We're saying, look, we don't need to be 1,200 square feet. Let's go down to 800 square feet. Let's see what that looks like. Because we're finding that 80% of our customers are not sitting in the store eating their bowl. Most of them walk right out the front door and they eat it when they're driving. Okay. So having a footprint that's 800 square feet as opposed to 1,200 or more, it allows me to have one bathroom rather than two. So my build out cost is going to be less. It's just going to be so much more of an efficient business. Once again, we've evolved to that place. What pushed us to that place? The inflationary market that we're in right now. Okay. Inflationary market. And you know what? If I can lower food cost, if I can lower the build out cost to make the unit level economics at the store level that much more enhanced, I'm down for it.
And that's a franchise. That's also the franchise model, right? So you go and you implement that. And I mean, even looking for like, if this is what our customer does, if they're eating in their car, how do we package things to make that, more,
all of it
more
and
efficient?
We do a great job with it. Our bowls are fantastic. We serve the best bowl in the business. They're, dairy free, gluten free, soy based, made with organic, all natural ingredients. And that's what our guests are looking for.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. So if I'm obviously a small business guy, how would you define the difference between being, and I talk about this, I do another podcast that's primarily business. This one's primarily lifestyle, but how do you describe the difference between being a small business owner and an entrepreneur? Because I always love to ask this question.
Well, a small business owner and entrepreneur, well, look, they're one and the same. I mean, an entrepreneur, to me, it's funny. I spoke at a university one time, and I didn't make the professor happy, but the class was kids were majoring in entrepreneurship. Okay, they all want to be entrepreneurs, and they're going to graduate with an entrepreneur degree, if you can imagine that. And I said to them, look, being an entrepreneur cannot be self-professed. It's just like you can't say I'm a man of character.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has to tell you. They have to talk. They have to say, hey, look, Kevin Davis, he's a man of character. Now, when somebody tells you you're a man of character, that's a badge that you get to wear that someone is giving you. It's a gift that they've given you. What it tells is that you're a straight shooter, you're honest, you have integrity. Okay. So character it can't be self-professed. All right. Just like being an entrepreneur. Hey, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh, really? My follow-up question, if someone said I'm an entrepreneur, my follow-up question would be, really? Congrats. What's your business? Oh, I don't have a business, but I majored in entrepreneurs. It doesn't work. Okay. No. So whether somebody even has a small business, you're an entrepreneur. Okay. There's not a level of business that comes into play that suddenly you get to wear this badge. I'm an entrepreneur, because here's the reality. Somebody starts, they have a small business. And let's say that they're all in on that business. They have their life savings in that business. And I don't give a damn if it's $5,000 that they have into that business. It's a lawn care service that they started with $5,000. It's their life savings. You're an entrepreneur. You put your life savings at risk. You're an entrepreneur. Whether you win or lose, you're still an entrepreneur. Okay. You fail in business, you're still an entrepreneur. So, that to me is important for people to understand that, look, being an entrepreneur is easy. Winning at being an entrepreneur is hard work. Okay. And that's where it comes in. And I deal with that today. I have franchisees that come into my business and they want to be semi-absentee owners. They're getting into the business because they want diversity. They want financial freedom, create their own schedule. They want all these things. Hey, look, that's great. And many of our franchisees accomplish that, but that is the fruits of their effort. Okay. When you can buy bigger houses, buy fancier cars, and take more expensive trips, when you can do that, that's typically the fruits of your hard work.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It doesn't just happen. And I think for people, all your listeners out there, look, being an entrepreneur, great. There's nothing more rewarding than being the owner of a business that you've started that is supporting your lifestyle. Personally, there's nothing better than that. But be prepared when you get into the business, go into it with the heart of a lion. Go in there like a warrior. You're going to give it everything it takes. There's no plan B. Just get in and lean in and dig into it and give it everything it needs to be successful. If that means that you've got to give it 25, 30 hours a week of your time while you're doing your other full-time job, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
You do it because that's what you signed up for. But you know what? Hopefully by putting in that kind of effort, you can work your way out of a hole and you can have a growing, thriving business, and that's rewarding.
Yeah, and be able to kind of take the ups and downs, right? You get that text, the low balance alert on your checking account, right? Like that's and then realize, oh wait, I can do this, I can move this, I can, I need to sell another grand today or whatever. Yeah.
All those hard things. Going back to your landlord, hey, I need some relief. Going back to your bank, I need some relief. Okay. I'm not telling you I'm not going to pay you back. I'm just telling you my business is not cash flowing today. I need some help. Okay. I need some relief. Allow me to build my business here so I can pay you, because me defaulting on the loan today and filing bankruptcy, you don't get paid.
Right.
I lose and you don't get paid. Work with me so I can fight my way out of this. You'll eventually get paid. I'm not telling you I'm not going to pay you the interest on my loan. I'm telling you, give me some reprieve on my payments. And same with the landlord. Hey, look, Mr. Landlord, let me pay CAM only for the next 6 months to allow me to free up some cash flow so I can grow my business. Because if I leave this space, think about it. You've got to bring it back to a vanilla shell. That's going to cost you money. You got to list it again. You got to pay another real estate commission. All those things are costing you money. Let's work together so I can fight my way out of this. A lot of entrepreneurs are afraid to have that dialogue with their partners, which is their landlord and their banker. Mm-hmm. Okay. You can't be too proud to have those conversations because it's the difference between life and death.
Yeah.
It truly is.
100%. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. It's been educational. We talked a little bit of politics, which is always fun and exciting, and life stuff. So, hey, I really appreciate it. I'm excited to kind of learn more about you. If we want to, so it's nauticalbulls.com, right? That's the one. Where else can we find you?
Just find me on Instagram, which is Peter_Taunton, TAUNTON. That's where, I make a post every day that's usually business related, business or life related. But if you like what I'm saying, just like my posts, and that's it. You know what? I don't charge anything for any of this stuff. My goal here is to just shed some light and some personal experience on what being an entrepreneur has been for me.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Peter.
Hey, my pleasure, Kevin.
If you're looking to really maximize your life and become the man you were made to be, head over to maxedoutman.com and get your journey started today.